DEESLIMDAOG, that Stay Solid the movement. Praise be to the Most High. Yeah, we back with another one. But yeah, man, we talking about suicide, man. And this right here, man, this kind of a touchy subject, but it's a real subject, man. But you know, suicide and mental depression is real, man, and especially amongst my black men, you know. But suicide, man, I know a lot of times when you hear about people committing suicide, you know, especially like in the black community, you know, we be thinking that people is weak, you know, but anybody could be hurting, anybody could be going through something, and it's just a part of mental health, man. But what I'm learning about most people that commit suicide is that they really didn't want to die. They just wanted the pain to stop, man. And that's 9 times out of 10, that's really what it be, that you be hurting so bad, man, and you go through so much, and it's like that you just be wanting the pain to stop, you know, and not having nobody to talk to, you know, not having nobody to express your opinions to, or just how you feel, man. That can start to weigh on your mind a lot, you know. And when people, you know, be going through it, you know, they really don't want to tell people, you know, how bad they hurting, because most people gonna tell them, hey, you know what, you know, you're gonna be all right, you know, things gonna be cool, things gonna be fine. But to that person, it don't feel like that, man. You know, when you're waking up every day, you know, you're crying, you know, you're feeling depressed, you're stressed out, and you just can't seem to get it together, man. You just can't seem to get it together. And, you know, the only way they think that, you know, things are going to get better is they take themselves out and, you know, they hit the reset button. So, you know, suicide don't mean you're weak, man. That just means that you're hurting. You know, that means that you're just going through something. And you know that you just gotta have somebody to talk to, somebody to vent to. So anytime that when you going through stuff, anytime that when you hurting, anytime that when you in pain, don't think twice, man, about reaching out, trying to get help. Don't think that you crazy, that if you need to be on something, that'll keep your nerves together, that'll keep you calm. Because a lot of people in the United States of America suffer from depression. And if you don't get depression, you know, seen about, if you don't talk to a therapist, or you don't get some type of see some type of like medical doctor, it will lead to suicide, man. You know, that's why I tell people all the time, man, to have somebody solid that you could talk to, knowing that you ain't alone. But first of all, man, you know, having that relationship with God is the most important thing that we all could ever have in life, man, because he told us that he would never leave us and never forsake us, man. But, you know, it's hard out here, man, you know, if you're going through things, you know, and a lot of people, you know, especially the homeless, you know, they go through a lot, you know what I mean, you know, with this mental illness, you know, just not having no support system. And, you know, that means a lot when you're in this world and you really don't have nobody that you could talk to, and you don't have nobody to fall back on. But you always got to remember, people, that you got God, man. When you don't got nobody else in your corner, and when you don't have nobody else to talk to, you always got to remember that you got God, man. And if nobody don't love you, the Most High God love you, man. So that's why I'm always telling y'all, I'm always screaming, man, to have a real relationship with God, because you can get so down and out, man, without not having no money, not having a place to stay, not having no friends, you know, just not having the nice things that you maybe once had in your life. And believe it, man, that could do a number on you mentally, without you even knowing it. And before you know it, I'm sorry, you know, you be done put a gun to your head, or you be done took some pills. And, you know, one thing about suicide, it can happen to the best of us. You know, I remember just growing up, you know, being in high school, some of the coolest dudes in the world that I thought was so cool and player, had no problems in this world, they end up unaliving themselves, man, because, you know, all suicide is just a mental illness, you know, depression, anxiety, all that balled up into one. You know, all that balled up into one, and it's pain and it's hurt. But here's the key, man. Never be ashamed to admit when you hurting, man. You know, never be ashamed to where you feel like that you need to reach out and talk to somebody. You know, because everybody needs somebody. Everybody need a shoulder to cry on. Everybody need a lending ear, somebody that they could really talk to, having a real support system, man. And if you don't have nobody, you know, they got hotlines that you could reach out and that you could call, and you can get in contact with somebody and tell them how you feeling, man. Somebody care about you. I know a lot of times we think in life that don't nobody give a damn about you, but believe it or not, it's always somebody that care. And it could be a stranger, yo. It could be a stranger, man. But, you know, suicide, it's never the answer, yo. It's never the answer. And, you know, most people that commit suicide, you know, it ain't that they truly, truly want to die. They just want the pain to stop, man. And you got to be able to recognize when people are going through stuff, if they're your real friends, if they're your real family members, if you seeing them not being themselves, if you seeing them losing interest in stuff that they love, if you seeing them just always, you know, their anxiety up, if you see them always down, or they just like, you know, having highs and lows, man, don't be afraid for you to be a good friend and hold yourself accountable and say, hey, man, you know, maybe that we can go talk to somebody, you know, because it's kind of embarrassing, man, when you got to go sit down and talk to people about your problems, somebody that you don't know. But believe it or not, man, that could save your life, man. So be a good friend. You know, if you see somebody, they suffering with any type of mental illness, man, whether it's depression, whether it's anxiety, you know, anything. If they just talking like that, you know, there's something just ain't right, man. You know, just be a good friend, man, and try to give them to see about somebody, man. Because guess what, man? You know, things do get better, yo. It ain't always going to be bad days and stuff like that. Things will get better, man. But suicide is definitely not the answer, man. You know, I want to start speaking more on mental illness and more on healing, you know, and just keep God first, man. Because guess what? God is the best of planners, man, and he'll never leave you and he'll never forsake you, man. And if anybody needs some coaching session, any therapy, man, you could get at me at TheRealDSlimDaog at gmail.com, Instagram DSlimDaog, Cash App $DEBOY10, man. But just remember, man, that suicide is not the answer, man. They really don't want to die. They just want the pain to stop, man. But with that being said, knowledge is power. Stay solid is the movement. Y'all stay solid, stay blessed. Peace and shalom. I'm going to catch y'all on the next one. And remember, if nobody don't love you, God do. I'm out.